and welcome to PBS Learning Media in your classroom. My name is Tina Bassenbrook, and I am the Educational Services Coordinator at WGTE Public Media in Toledo. My experience in education ranges from teaching kindergarten through middle school. Most recently, I have been teaching middle school science. This morning, I am going to talk a little bit about PBS Learning Media. As America's largest classroom, PBS offers digital content and services for teachers of children from pre-K all the way through 12th grade that help bring classroom lessons to life. PBS Learning Media is a partnership of PBS and WGBH Educational Foundation. PBS Learning Media can be used in the physical classroom to connect with students, but it also can be used in an online classroom. When we have seen the switch from online to in-person happen many times over the past few years, PBS Media can be a valuable resource to teachers when looking for quality content, whether you are physically in the classroom or whether you are meeting with your students online. One of the hardest parts about being a teacher, I found, is having the time and the energy to search out new resources to add to your lessons. PBS Learning Media has all of this at your fingertips. No need to worry if the lesson plans are appropriate for students, whether they cost anything, and if they're aligned to your standards, whether you can connect them to Google Classroom easier, etc. PBS Learning Media has thousands of resources ready for you, whether you would like to use them as a complete lesson or whether you just want to supplement a lesson you've already created. The types of resources that are offered on PBS Learning Media are varied. There are complete lesson plans. There are videos available to supplement a lesson. There are collections available if you're looking to organize a unit. There are audio recordings for students to listen to, documents for students to view, and interactives for students to work on at a self-paced environment, interacting with the material in a different way. All of these are free to teachers. They have all subjects. They include all grade levels, pre-K through 12th grade, and they fully integrate with Google Classroom, as well as many other of the learning platforms that are utilized in schools. You need to sign up for an account if you would like to assign and view student work. But anyone, even without an account, can view the resources available on PBS Learning Media. Let's get started in looking at some of the details of PBS Learning Media. This is what the landing page looks like for PBS Learning Media. When you click in the upper right-hand corner for signing up for an account, it's asking you how you would like to sign up for an account. As you can see, you can sign up with your Google account if you're a Google-based school, with your Facebook account, or any other email account that you would like as a teacher. If you are linking to your Google Classroom, you do need to sign in with your Google account to make sure those two will play nicely with each other. There is also the option for a student account, which your students will need to create in their Google Classroom if you would like them to keep track of their work. We will see later there is a way to kind of go around that and not have the students have their own account, but just have a teacher account, but we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. First, once you are signed in, this is what the teacher page or the teacher view looks like on PBS Learning Media. For example, you will see your local PBS station here. I'm at WGTE, so mine comes up with WGTE. There are other resources that you can see on this page. First of all, if you ever want to see what it looks like from a student's point of view, which is always helpful when we are assigning work, especially when we are working remotely and would like to see what it's going to look like for them, you can see here that it says for students. This is available on this landing page, and it is also available on each of the resources and lessons within PBS Learning Media. And then once you have created an account, you can always see if you're logged in the upper right-hand corner over here, and you will be able to see your login information as well. Next, once again, as I mentioned, the student view, and this is what it looks like on the student view landing page, is a nice feature so you can see what the students are looking at on your end. It's nothing more frustrating than trying to help a student out and not know exactly what they're looking at on their screen when working remotely. So there's always the option to go to and toggle to this student view. There are 4 ways to search for specific resources on PBS Learning Media. First of all, you can search by the subject matter. And when you click on the subject matter to search, you will see that there are a wide range of subjects that are addressed on PBS Learning Media. And just drawing your attention, especially here to this middle bottom, there's also a professional development category specifically designed for teachers. The second way to search is you can search by grade level band. So if you click on the grade level band, you can see that the grade level bands are pre-K and kindergarten, and then K2 examples are, for example, all the way up through 9 through 12. So you can have age-appropriate resources available to you. Third, you can search by the standard. For example, being in Ohio, we can go ahead, if you click on standards, you can browse by the standards. First of all, the types of standards here are they're going to ask you if you would like them state level or national level. Then the publication of the standards, if there's multiple standards within your discipline that you can search by. For example, I could search as being a science teacher, I could search by the Ohio Department of Education standards, as well as if I wanted an NGSS standard and next generation science standard, I could search by that from the national level as well. You can search by grade level, or you can search by a certain keyword. So for example, let's say you're teaching biomes. If you just search by biomes within the standards, it will also pull up the standards that are connected with biomes, as well as resources that are connected with biomes. And then the last way to search in PBS Learning Media is just in the search box here. And that works just like it would in Google. You can type in any topic and you can see what would be available to you. Once you search by a topic, you can filter your results to make it fit to what you would like. So if you're looking for a complete lesson, or just looking at a small, maybe introduction to your lesson, or an activity for the students to do, you could click on the resource type to show the process of searching on PBS Learning Media. So if you click here on this resources, you can see that you can then go and search by whatever resource you are looking for on the landing page. So for example, let's do an example on this resource type. Let's say since I was a science teacher, we want to search by the water cycle. So I'm just going to type in water cycle here. And if you search by water cycle, I taught middle school, so then I would click on the grade band 6 through 8 here to filter out for age appropriate resources. I want them to be science related resources for the water cycle. So I click science, and then you can search on what type of resource you are looking for. So let's say I'm just starting out and I want a whole lesson plan. I could then click on lesson plan, and you could see what would be available to you. And we will look at some of these types of resources more in the coming parts of this presentation. But for example, the first one that came up was we can look at the lake levels over the years. So if you're studying the Great Lakes in this area, you could use this lesson plan to help guide your lesson with the students. Okay, so let's go through each of the types of resources available to you on PBS Learning Media. Using these in your classroom can really help expand what you are covering in class and how you are covering it through different methods. So as we just saw in the last water cycle example, here is the lesson plans. In a lesson plan, for example, this observing weather factors lesson plans that geared toward K to 2. you can see various things available to you. So if you click on this lesson plan, this is what it will look like on the page for the teachers. So you can see it's a K-2 lesson, and it is part of a collection, which we will talk about in just a couple of minutes. You can see here that it has the overview, the lesson summary, what they are going to do throughout the lesson. You can see off to the side here all of the resources that you will need to complete this lesson. So first of all, there's this interactive lesson available to you, which we will get to interactive lessons in a couple of minutes. There are support materials for teachers. So there's notes for you as a teacher about teaching this lesson. There's a handout, and then there's vocabulary that's involved in this lesson, as well as support materials for students. So there's handouts for the students as well, related to the topics in this lesson plan. The second tab here will get you to the procedure of the lesson. So step-by-step directions about how to complete this lesson in your classroom, with the appropriate links in as well. And then the last part, once again, is the standards. If you are connecting those to the standards, you would want to click on whatever is available in your area. So for example, if I was logged in on this part, you could see that I could sign in with the Ohio Department of Education ones. And then as I mentioned, as a science teacher, this NGSS standards, which are more national-based standards. So all of these resources are available to you on a lesson plan. Other examples of lesson plans is here you can see there's this Cupcake Calamity lesson plan from Pinkalicious. Once again, geared toward younger kids. But you can see the same thing is here. There's a video this time that is related to this lesson plan, so it gives you the link to the videos. Most videos on PBS Learning Media you're able to stream, and some you're able to download if you'd like to make them a part of your own presentation. There's support materials for teachers, and then there's also support materials for the students as well. Same thing, procedure and standards available to you as well. Then just another example of older grade, investigating the growing health crisis of diabetes. So there's a lesson plan geared towards 6 through 8. The next resource available to you are videos. PBS prides itself on creating high quality videos that you can use in your classroom. So the way you would go about finding a video is this. So let's go to the search here and say we are teaching a lesson for our health class on appropriate nutrition. And so we want to find lessons on vegetables and what resources or what nutrients those provide to us. So we search by vegetables. And once again, you can click on your grade band. So let's try 3 through 5th this time. And this is in the context of health and physical education. So here is where subject matter might become more important. Right now, we're talking about the nutrition benefits versus maybe how they grow or what kind of plant they would be, such as a science lesson. We click on health and physical education. And then the resource type, if we're just looking for videos that the kids can watch on their own, then we would click on videos. And you see we have 14 results of videos that come up related to vegetables in a health classroom. More videos could be connected with lesson plans as well, so you might find them embedded into a lesson plan already. But here is one on the Erie Canal and women's suffrage, so maybe a social studies lesson that you are trying to teach, and then there's multiple lessons on math, explaining math concepts and math processes in short videos. These are a nice resource for the student, especially if maybe they're working on their home and at home, and they need just a little bit of extra help and you aren't available to help them at that time. All right, the next type of resource are collections. So collections are resources that are all focused around one certain learning objective. So for my older students, one of my favorite ones are these Smithsonian resources. So when I click on the Smithsonian resources for teachers and learning, you can see that there are different programs within this collection. And one of my favorite one for science teachers specifically is this good thinking topic. Good thinking talks about misconceptions that students have and how teachers can address these. So once again, cartoons aren't just for kids. These are really addressed towards science teachers and seeing how they can teach to address the misconceptions that students might have. So they're very engaging. And actually, sometimes I would use these with my middle school teachers on a basic, or my middle school students on a basic topic, and ask them kind of probing questions along the way, because they enjoyed watching these. And I think to address some of these simple misconceptions, it was a very creative way to do so. Once you go back, then let's go back to the Smithsonian for just a second. There's also there's Native Knowledge 360, Smithsonian Science Know-How. That's another nice one that ties in the Smithsonian. So these are videos that are created in or by the Smithsonian Institute, specifically designed for educational purposes. They're usually webcasts with real scientists or researchers on various topics. And so it's a neat way to engage the students that way. If you teach younger children, there's also this Ohio Ready to Learn tab here where you can search by any different subject matter, and all of the resources are related to Ready to Learn. All right, then there's the interactive lessons. Interactive lessons are a sequence of pages related to a certain topic. They quite often involve reading or videos or activities that the students are allowed to work on and allowed or encouraged to work at their own pace. So if you want a self-directed lesson, interactive lessons are the way to go. If you click on interactive lessons on our page on PBS Learning Media, you will see all of the interactive lessons. You can search by topic. And I just wanted to point out there are also teacher tutorials and professional development that you can do as well with interactive lessons. Interactive lessons vary depending on what type it is and who created them, but they can include a variety of different resources. So for example, some of the features within different interactive lessons could be things like a match it category where you're talking about vocabulary specifically. So if you find a match it within an interactive lesson, then you might see here that, oh, I can't get in there right now unless I'm logged in. You might see that there's a vocabulary match where the kids could drag and drop. And that would be available to you for them to turn in. You could have a highlighted lesson where they're practicing close reading techniques. You could have an organize it lesson where there might be some kind of a graphic organizer or just a simple outline that they need to complete. There's a review it activity where quite often there's questions that they need to answer based on what they've learned so far. Infographic involves different graphic organizers. There's a visualize it, what could be a variety of different things depending on the age group, but sometimes has a picture that you need to put labels on or explain. And arrange it is usually putting something in order or dragging labels to a certain place on a page or on a picture. And then lastly, the write it is kind of a summary or an extended written assignment to complete once the students have completed the rest of the sessions. There's other examples here of interactive lessons as well. Animals and plants can live in the city. So this is a younger lesson where it follows more of a storyline. So they follow how a plant might grow in a larger city. And then there's even math ones related to these interactive lessons, graphing distance and time, where they have to do certain activities to demonstrate they know how to do this. Each interactive lesson varies in what's included in it because some are more appropriate, some of the activities are more appropriate for certain topics, and some of them don't really work with certain topics. Interactives are slightly different than interactive lessons. So you'll see interactive lessons, which I just showed you, which are more whole and complete in that they cover a topic in full. Interactives, on the other hand, are really more of practicing a certain skill. They can be more game-like, and they might ask the students to really focus in on one type of activity. So for example, this periodic table of elements interactive is asking the students to find the mystery elements. So once they've kind of reviewed what the periodic table is, how it's set up, how the groups, how the families work, then they can go to this game-like activity where they are given a mystery element and they need to figure out what that element is. There's other ones. Here's a cloud interactive. So it may be after you've talked about types of clouds, then they can go into this interactive in this cloud lab and they need to pick which type of cloud they think it is. All right, so those are the types of resources available on PBS Learning Media. Now, the other nice feature of using PBS Learning Media is you can assign and organize lessons easily through your learning platform. PBS Learning Media has multiple tutorials available to you to help you learn how to utilize this simply in your classroom. So for example, here is the tutorial page, and you will find multiple videos on whatever you happen to need help with in setting up your class. When you get to PBS Learning Media and you would like to assign or find a lesson, you can go to your name up here in the corner and you can go to the teacher menu or the pull down menu here to help guide you to where you would like to go on the site. PBS Learning Media also has a lot of Google Classroom tutorials since a lot of schools do use Google Classroom. It shows resources that will help both the teacher and it shows resources that will help the student as well. Anytime that you would like to create a class in PBS Learning Media, you can use a class that you've already created in Google Classroom. So you can import your students from Google Classroom, and even if you add students later, you can re-import your class into PBS Learning Media. If this, for example, is a sample of my Google Classroom, you can see that the student on the stream page, I had created a post where they log into the student homepage at the beginning of the year and sign into their own accounts on PBS Learning Media. If you post an assignment to the classwork page in Google Classroom, then this is what it will look like. So for example, if we go to my Google Classroom here, you can see that you can click on a post that I created as well. So this was created here. It gives you the link that the students need to follow. They can click on that and then they will ask to be logged in for the student sign-in. They can go directly to that lesson. If you choose not to have the students create an account, there's always a quick link that you can provide to the students for them to complete the activity without logging into their own account. PBS Learning Media can be easily integrated with any learning management system you learn. It's not solely related to Google Classroom. On the tutorial page, there are other resources and other videos that you can use. So for example, if you use Schoology or any of the other learning platforms out there, those can be integrated with PBS Learning Media as well, not just Google Classroom. So all of those resources are just a click away to you, so you can learn also how to integrate with those. I thank you for coming today and listening to the resources that are available to you on PBS Learning Media. I hope this has been a help to you in providing valuable resources you can use when you go to your classroom and you'd like to teach. Thank you for coming. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at the email address on the screen or the telephone number on the screen. Thank you.